If you can see the on the feeling of immortality in youth by William Hazlit, if you can see the analysis like this. The first idea that he develops is the common feeling that to be young is to be one of the immortals. Young people have so many exciting prospects before them that they hardly imagine that death can put a halt to it. They brush aside the idea of death. Death, old age are words without a meaning, a dream, a fiction. They believe that others are a prey to them, but they can offer to wink at such idle fancies, useless or unfounded beliefs. For them, life is ever new, a ceaseless progress, a never ending movement forward to other joys. He uses the metaphor of the race to put across the idea old age stands for fatigue, and how can the runner become tired at the very beginning, that is youth. There is a childlike simplicity in the feeling of youth. Mother Nature lulls us into a state of security. Nature is permanent, we are a minion. And so we imagine our relationship is going to be firm and lasting. Consider deeply the metaphors he uses to make the falsity of this impression here. Youth is a period of intoxication or even a delirium, a bright waking dream or a dazzlement. We are too much absorbed in present objects and pursuits. Only when sorrow and loss are discovered to be realities which we cannot avoid, we realize we are old. The same point is driven home in different metaphors later. Death is the scythe, flowers of life wither. The future appears bleak. There are no unbounded prospects before. Only then thoughts of death leave a deep impression on our consciousness. Note the example of the foolish fat worker in the kitchen taken from Stern. The illustration adds to the interest of the argument. Hazlitt was a voracious reader. Casualties see we avoid the slow approaches of ages we play at hide and seek with. We avoid the thoughts of death which might strike suddenly, and we shut our eyes to the signs of coming old age. Life appears like a exciting fair, a rare show during youth. Life is the almighty scene, and we want to become one with nature. That nature is permanent. The fairy face of nature shines on forever, and while identifying ourselves with nature, we imagine that we too will be everlasting like her. We unconsciously transfer its durability or capacity to last long as well as its splendor to ourselves. Note the other metaphors which convey the same idea: ball or dance, fete or festival, a play in the theatre, the feast of reason and the flow of soul. It may be that nature, after permitting us to experience the pleasures of her glorious show, may remove us away through death, our agent. But while we are enjoying ourselves, never for a second do we think of what lies ahead. Now he gives a list of the delights of the world. Number 1, the beauties of nature, the sun and the sky, the mighty world of the eye and the ear, the sights and sounds of nature. Number 2, the fascinating spectacles of the realm of science. Number 3, intellectual pleasures of history, literature, and philosophy. To think of losing all these pleasures is dismal experience to us, and also all young men push aside the thought of death, paying back the loan of life as far away from us as possible. Hazlitt is a true romantic, insisting on the chief place of emotions. There is no satisfying argument here, but merely an emotional satisfaction held out to us. We want time to achieve perfection, and since nature is partial to arts, like a good mother, she should give us a long time. For example, take the Dutch painter Rembrandt. His paintings are excellent, but how much of time must he have taken to rectify even a micro fault? Let us say a wrinkle, and we who watch and learn from that great painter need even more time to purify our skill. This time is well spent because we do not which interests us. This rarefied, refined existence seems to have no end, no stint, nor principle of decay in it. We have so many wonderful things to do, even like Rembrandt, that it is unnatural for us to remember death or believe in it. When we are young, we will be jealous and objects of art to leave a very profound impression on our mind. It almost becomes an element of our nature. Long years are compressed into a few moments of intense enjoyment, and we live in anticipation of the reiteration of such a joyful experience. We are so restless in youth that we think that life moves rather slow. We never imagine that in old age, time slips out of our fingers too hastily. Now, Hazlit tries to stress the difference between old age and youth. First, he shares his own experience. When the French Revolution began, he was so excited that he might have exclaimed with Wordsworth that bliss was it in that dawn to be alive. To be young was the very paradise. But unfortunately, the revolution took an erroneous turn, terminating in a reign of terror, having no hopes for posterity. He felt that he had become older. The capacity for personal enjoyment will vanish in old age, but it is possible to aim at intellectual development. Now, the stress is on thoughts. If we can leave behind great works which shall stimulate the imagination of others, we will not have died. Metaphonically speaking, we are physically dead, but by virtue of our intellectual accomplishment, we still live. Even from the other side of the grave, to quote Gray, we are accessible to the living and raise others to a loftier state of being. That is the amends for the loss of old age. As we approach death, we realize what we are failing, and so time suddenly gains in value. Nature does not grow pale or lose its freshness, but why should we die? We feel that nature is a witch. Everything becomes arid, hollow, lustreless. Note the use of the two metaphors, the fruit for youth and the whited tomb for old age. The only wish of the world is to die in a noble way with little bodily weakness. There is nothing splendid about death. Generally, it is not abrupt. There will have been a long process of physical deterioration and a wasting away of the mental faculties that we should wear out by slow strategies and dwindle at last into nothing is not wonderful. Here again we gives you his own example in old age. Even fine book like Sir Walter Scott's do not impress us. That is the sorrowful part of it. Incapacity to respond to books. And to make things worse, we become susceptible to irritation. Even small things risk us in disproportionate way. The godlike mind of ours is lost in the unpleasant and the mean. Neither old age nor youth nor both can totally satisfy our soaring aspirations. I think you understood. Why does he call nature a witch? Or what are the delights of life? Then I want to come to summing up. This essay is a characteristic of Hazlitt. If you go through the notes, you will know from how many sources he has taken his quotations. The range of his reading really deserves admiration. To make his writing sprightly, he has given an autobiographical touch. His love of nature is mirrored in the various metaphors he has employed. To us, it looks as though he is far too unrestrained in his style of writing, especially in the profuse use of metaphors. Many times, the argument is missed because of the labyrinth of metaphors. Anyway, his writings continue to be interesting because of the everlasting attractiveness of his subjects and the lustrous style. Thank you. If you want to like this video, please subscribe, like, share, and make a comment.